Hi, and welcome to the 2021 Economic Depression and Preparation channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you for joining me on this edition. And today we're going to be talking about two things: the upcoming dollar collapse, basically, and we're also going to be talking about Vice President Kamala Harris' visit to the border and the border crisis and the amount of money being spent on the deal with the border crisis. That's going to be one of the reasons to break the economy. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about 20 items that you want to buy before we head deeper into this Great Depression and dollar collapse. Because by the time they break the news, the mainstream media breaks the news to everyone that America is insolvent with in default. It will be almost too late to pick up the supplies that we all need to, with our families, to weather the storm, so to speak. So listen, the US dollar is facing a dollar collapse by the end of 2021 and over a 50% chance of a double dip recession. A double dip recession technically is a depression, basically. This is according to economist Stephen Roach. So they're calling this a double dip recession, but actually a depression is defined as two quarters of negative GDP, which we're going to be experiencing in this fall and then heading into 2022. So the dollar collapse is coming. You notice if you go to the store, you're getting less and less product, but the prices are increasing. But you're getting less and less product, less and less service at these retail, at these food outlets, at these travel places that you go to. You're getting less service, more higher prices, and that's because the dollar is constantly being devalued because it's being printed out of thin air at such a rate that is unsustainable. So the U.S. has seen economic outlook rise briefly and then fall in 8 of the past 11 business cycles recovery. Remember, we had the longest expansion in history from that 2008 period to 2019. It was about a 13-year period where we had expansion and growth. But that can't go on forever because the business cycle is naturally ups and downs, and there has to be a crash. And so he was wrong when he predicted the crash in last June, when it was trading at $96. He said it would collapse 35% against other major currencies. But now the dollar is under extreme pressure, ladies and gentlemen, and this is going to continue to be the case. And so we need to get everything that we can purchase this year and heading into the beginning of next year, because after that, the federal stimulus money will be spent before the midterm because Biden wants to look good, but it's not going to be enough to get the Republicans are going to gain a lot of seats back, I believe, during this midterm next year. And so all of the spending this year is really going to hurt, not just the political, but it's going to hurt us economically because we've spent, and we're already $28.7 trillion in national debt. Speaking of that, the border crisis. Vice President Kamala Harris is going to make her first trip to the U.S.-Mexico border since taking office. She's heading to El Paso, Texas, and the border there with Juarez, Mexico. So she's going to be talking about the immigration and all of that, and that's great news. But here's the problem: think about the amount of money we're spending at the border housing all of these immigrants from Honduras, Mexico, all points in Central and South America. It is absolutely taxing the American taxpayer, the American dollar. It is great that we're definitely taking care of these people, not just these people, but anybody, any Americans, anybody, that's coming to America. Obviously, they want a better life. And that's obviously economically, because economically and politically back at home, things may not be the best conditions over in those countries. So I understand that, but I'm just saying in general, God bless them for trying to come here and make a life and do better. But in general, though, the amount of money that the United States is spending on this border crisis is not being factored into the equation. And remember now, they have to pay for not just housing and all of that, but also for, all of the documentation, everything to offer residents from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Mexico hope for the future. And so this is just going to be absolutely taxing on the U.S. taxpayer, on the government, because the government has to support them at all these military bases, military posts. Custom and Border Protection is going to be overwhelmed. They've had more than 180,000 encounters on the border since May. This is the highest since March 2000. So, a lot of people are seeking asylum. That's fine. It's all great. But this amount of money that they're going to be spending down there, the clothing, housing, food, shelter, like I said, documentation, phone calls back home, it's just an astronomical amount. And so Vice President Kamala Harris knows that, and she's trying to work towards solutions. Hopefully she can come to a solution that will be appeasable and digestible for both sides. But in the meantime, a lot of money is being spent down on the border. Next up, I like this urban survival site because they have 20 great things to buy before a Great Depression. Land, obviously, is the most valuable asset. If you have land and you have a tiny home on a piece of land or something like that, hang on to it. It's going to become very valuable in the future because you can't create land. It's something that's a non-renewable resource and you can't duplicate it or counterfeit it like you can with money. Knowledge, of course. YouTube courses, books, physical books are still in demand. So if you have physical books on different subjects that are, very vital, like gardening, prepping, survival books, all that stuff is very powerful. Money and precious metals. Paper money will become worthless, but people will start turning to precious metals, gold and silver, against inflation, or even cryptos. Even though they may not seem like they're going up now, it could become the people's currency. Bulk staple foods, Mountain Home foods, Patriot Foods, Army MREs. If you have chance to get Sternos and get a portable camper burner or one of those butane camper burners, get it while you can now. The time is now to be able to stock up on that. Personal defense items, obviously that goes without saying. Those firearms, brass, pepper spray, all of that would be viable. Medication, cotton fabric, hunting and fishing supplies. Save that tackle box either with plastic worms or bass, or if you got physical crickets and worms, save those buckets, save those containers. Cast iron skillets, I love cast iron cooking. It's great. The Dutch ovens, great, get those. First aid kits, boots, paracord, water filters, you get the idea. Leather gloves, readers eyeglasses kits, water filters, seeds. A lot of you have been collecting seeds and gardening on your porches and patios and your land. Excellent. Fixed blade knife. That has many multi-tool. That has many uses. Another thing I like to add to this is bolt cutters. You just never know when you may have to cross another property or something if we go into a total collapse. And if you don't have bolt cutters, you're going to be in trouble to be able to move about in the city, at least in the urban environment. So just add that to your list, a small pair of bolt cutters too, and just throw it away. Don't think about it. So, guys, we know we have to continue to prep. We know that the dollar is facing a legendary crisis because not only because we have internal pressures, but because the rest of the world wants to get off the dollar. Russia's already left the dollar. China's leaving the dollar. And that leaves just a few other countries in the Middle East. And that's it. They can kiss the dollar. Bye-bye. And so currencies are only meant to last for so long. And so afterwards, the serviceable life of them is over. So get things that you need while you can, and we're going to be okay as long as we prepare ahead of time, because you have to get it when you don't need it. The stuff that surprises you when you don't need it versus when you need it, because everybody's going to be thinking about the same idea, and when you go to the store or order it online, it's going to be sold out completely. So thank you very much for listening. Have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you very soon.